JBN, we keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones, and in the news, house of wanted man's father set on fire in St. Bass. Police have confirmed that a house belonging to the father of wanted man Tommy Thompson in Mogotty Hill, St. Elizabeth, was damaged in a suspected arson attack over the weekend. Thompson is one of three suspects in the murder of business owners, 53-year-old Shuan Shu and 48-year-old Akon Wan. Shu and Wan were killed when gunmen held up Joe's Supermarket in Bellevue District on December 23, 2021. Brothers Nigel and Nicholas Walters, both from St. Mary, have been arrested and charged. The police have confirmed that in the early hours of Friday, the house was set ablaze. The fire was set hours after lawmen conducted another raid on the community and searched several houses. Thompson reportedly eluded cops on Monday during a shootout. Man shot dead by police in Denham Town. An unidentified man was shot dead during a confrontation with the police in Denham Town, Kingston, on Wednesday afternoon. Reports are that about 1 p.m., cops were responding to a shooting incident on Albert Street when they were reportedly fired upon by gunmen. The cops reportedly took evasive action and returned fire, hitting one of the men, who later died. A pistol was seized in the incident. Victims in Hanover triple murder identified. The Lucy police in Hanover have now released the identities of the three men who were shot dead last night during the installation of surveillance cameras at a supermarket in Sontai District, Logwood in the parish. 4 other men were injured. The deceased are Michael Smith, 55, construction worker of Logwood, Hanover; Mark Austin, 37, construction worker of Orange Bay, Hanover; and Omar Mahabi, 43, otherwise called Ripeg, businessman of Orange Bay Road, Logwood, Hanover. The police say shortly after 8 p.m., Mahabi, Austin, and Smith were installing surveillance cameras at the D&K supermarket in Sontai Square when 4 men posing as customers walked inside the supermarket, pulled guns, and opened fire, hitting them. 2 of the gunmen reportedly chased some of the victims to the rear of the supermarket and shot them as well as others. The victims were taken to hospital where Austin, Smith, and Mahabi were pronounced dead, and 4 others treated and admitted in serious condition. Green Pond clamors for more police patrols after double murder. A double murder in Green Pond, St. James, on Monday has triggered outrage, sparking calls for increased police patrols in the western Jamaica community. Those killed have been identified as 19-year-old O'Neill Thelwell, otherwise called CJ, unemployed of Bridgetown in Green Pond, and another man identified as Jonah Thorpe of a Salt Spring address. Reports by the Mount Salem police are that about 10 p.m., both men were in a section of Green Pond called Sharon Hill when they were ambushed by gunmen and shot multiple times. They were pronounced dead at hospital. A concerned resident who gave his name only as Ricky said that he believes that Thelwell may have got caught up with the wrong company. He has called for a beef up of security to calm community fears. Since the start of the year, and with shooting and murder going on in our community, and we think a full time we start to the police them in at night time, he said in an interview. The air hot and enough youth are dead. We want to see the police them drive through more often and even do a look of foot patrol. Meanwhile, a senior police officer who requested anonymity because he's not authorized to speak about investigations said that detectives theorize that the killings are gang-related. These men that are involved, and even some of the victims, are in one way or another connected to gang violence. Sometimes it's not directly them themselves. Sometimes it's a close family member or close friend. But it always leads back to gang violence, the cop said. Thorpe's and Thelwell's stats bring to 3 the number of persons murdered in St. James over the past 4 days. There have been 51 murders in the parish in 2022. Their slaying follows Saturday's discovery of the bullet-wounded body of an unidentified male in Mount Salem. Reports are that about 3:55 p.m., citizens alerted the police after hearing gunshots on Phoenix Drive in the Westgate Hills area. The body of the unidentified man, who appeared to be in his 50s and about 5'7", was clad in a green and grey striped shirt and blue jeans pants. There was a gunshot wound to the head. Trial on hold as time given for call data records. The Klansman one-down gang trial in the Home Circuit Court was on Wednesday adjourned until March 23, after the prosecution requested time to peruse digital evidence, including the call data records, which the Crown will be using to support its main witnesses' claim that the alleged gangsters had been in constant contact and had called each other even from behind bars. We finally received the CFCD report yesterday evening, and my lord, we're asking for some time to peruse the several documents, the prosecutor told Chief Justice Brian Sykes. The CFCD is the Communication Forensic Cybercrimes Department. The prosecutor, who indicated that the documents would be disclosed virtually to the defense lawyers today, said that additional time is needed to determine who are witnesses to be called, and the number, along with the call data records, will also be the subscriber information for some of the numbers that were submitted to the service providers. A former member of the gang, who is one of the prosecution's main witnesses, testified that the alleged gangsters had used several different phones to communicate with each other. Some of the numbers were stored under their respective names in 3 phones that were used to secretly record conversations that the ex-gangster had with some of his alleged cronies. The self-confessed gangster also testified that alleged members of the criminal organization had communicated with reputed leader Andre Blackman Bryan and his reputed deputy, Jason Brown, otherwise called Citypus, while they were both in custody. Voices said to be that of both men were heard in several of the secret recordings that were played in court. In those conversations, the men identified as Blackman and Citypus were heard using prison lingo, jump off the road, for ending a conversation. In relation to the transcription of the audio recordings on the last of the 3 phones, the judge was advised that the actual typing was finished and that all that was required was for the transcribing officer to attend court to give evidence about what had been done before resuming the playing of the audio recordings. The defense lawyers were, however, not pleased with the decision to grant further time to the Crown. They registered their discontent while noting that the court had been too accommodating to the prosecution. As I said before, we think this is grossly unfair to the defense, that after so many months we still don't know what is the case they are bringing. Lloyd McFarlane, Bryan's lead counsel, who spoke on behalf of the defense, said. McFarlane further told the judge that he was not sure whether the time would be sufficient for the defense to peruse the documents and that they were unsure of the contents of the evidence. Chief Justice Brian Sykes advised that he would determine whether the trial would proceed next Wednesday. Meanwhile, the retired inspector, before completing his testimony on Wednesday, admitted that he had made an error when he testified that he first met defendant Stephanie Christie when she reportedly offered to give him $100,000 for Blackman's release in September 2017. The inspector, while being cross-examined by Christie's lawyer, Alexander Shaw, about his first encounter with the alleged gangster, said they first met in February or March 2017. When asked whether he had been lying when he told the court that he first met Christie in September 2017, the officer said that he might have made a mistake. He also conceded that he had not documented in any of his statements that he and Christie had had discussions about guns. The retired inspector told the court that after Christie had offered him the bribe, he had told her he wanted 2 rifles instead. He said further that he, Christie, and Blackman had had previous discussions about the gang handing over guns to the police. Jamaica reports 30 new COVID cases, 2 deaths. Jamaica reported 30 new cases of the COVID-19 and 2 fatalities on Wednesday, according to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. This pushed the total number of cases of the virus since the start of the pandemic to 128,456 and the death toll to 2,857. Of the newly reported cases, there were 16 females and 14 males, with ages ranging from 1 year to 91 years. The cases were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew 10, Clarendon 7, St. Anne 3, St. Catherine 3, Westmoreland 3, St. Elizabeth 2, Manchester 1, and St. James 1. Meanwhile, the latest deaths were a 62-year-old female and a 41-year-old male, both from St. James. The deaths were recorded in August 2021 as under investigation. The country also recorded 138 new recoveries, bringing the total number of recoveries to 78,868. The positivity rate for the latest round of testing was 4.8%. There are 63 people hospitalized, 2 of them critically ill. There are 252 confirmed active cases on the island. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.